Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Film Canada Press. Wanted to give you guys a little bit of information. This is not going to be a long video, but I wanted to give you guys a little bit of information about an important event that's coming up. I'm going to get to that in just a second. The City of Edmonton Police Service has waged war on public photography. They've given me back the results of one of my complaints from my assault and arrest almost 1 year to the day, where I was arrested at the Commonwealth Community Recreation Center. And a couple of days later, when I went down to do a FOIP request, I was viciously assaulted by Constable Ryan Hankowich, and even had some of my equipment damaged. I filed a complaint against him. I don't think it's going to be any spoiler alert for you guys that they have no interest in charging him. They were never going to charge him. That's what happens when the police police the police. There's no justice. But luckily, there's further action that can take place. I have an appeal going through with the Law Enforcement Review Board, or LRB, where I'm going to get access to the surveillance tapes, and eventually you guys are going to get a chance to check that out once this is over and done with. But I won't be able to do that while it's an active case. So I just wanted to show you guys this short snippet where they actually discuss how they, probably largely due to my audits, but they actually discuss how they were already trying to find some scheme or scam where they could stop people from recording in and around police stations, because the cops don't want you taking pictures of them. It makes them look bad. So they actually had something brewing already, and they actually go so far here as to mention to me that they have an EPS service directive, SD 21-015. Now, I've not been able to find this policy anywhere. It doesn't appear to be open to the public. It's just a fancy word for a policy. It's not a law. Obviously, it can't be a law because you cannot make a law against public photography. But they've created this service directive explaining to police officers how to go about dealing with people who take pictures in the public lobbies of police headquarters in the city of Edmonton. They claim that that policy was already there, it just hadn't been formalized yet. So there were no signs on the door, it was not mentioned anywhere, it was not even in the service directives yet, as if that makes any difference, because the policies apply to the police officers, not to civilians. But they actually claim that that was the reason why I was assaulted, was because they were already trying to make it that you couldn't take pictures. What's the reason? Well, obviously, because you might make some people uncomfortable. Did you ever think of that? Well, you tell me any place in public where you couldn't potentially make somebody uncomfortable, especially if the police start barking about how you could be making people uncomfortable. We've all seen that. Go to Amagansett Press when he walks into a mail room, like into a postal outlet. You know, one person starts yapping and then the whole place starts yapping. That's how it goes. It's exactly what happened in my situation. Cops started shooting their mouths off. Then one of the people at the counter decided she was going to shoot her mouth off too. And then it snowballed into an assault. So I just wanted to show you guys this, that they actually have created this directive. And it says here, the directive stated to ensure consistency and informant, when a member of the public attends a front counter and starts recording inside the lobby area, the following steps are recommended. Point out the no private recording sign and ask the subject to stop recording or leave. Apparently they have these signs up now at every police station. I intend to go and find out for myself and see if they will follow these directives. If they refuse, determine whether they have a legitimate police business and offer them an alternative means of accessing services. This may include going to a private interview room or going outside the building where they can record the interaction. Why would I have to go outside of the building if I'm recording? If somebody has a problem with me recording in a public place, maybe they should go into a back room. In fact, maybe that's what should have happened when I was assaulted that day. Because I can see and hear everything in that lobby anyways. So you're just going to have to deal with it. I can also photograph people coming in and out from the sidewalk. If they refuse, determine their business. Okay, if the subject continues to record inside the front counter lobby area, warn them that they will be considered a trespasser and arrestable if they refuse to leave or stop recording. Allow the subject a reasonable opportunity to comply, aka keep barking and yelling at them without any pause between your sentences and then have a rage attack and then claim later that you told him several times, which actually occurred over the course of 3 or 4 seconds. So in other words, obey and comply instantly to an illegal directive. If the subject continues to record inside the front counter lobby area, warn them that they'll be considered a trespasser. Allow the subject a reasonable opportunity to comply. If the subject does not stop recording and refuses to leave, they are then considered a trespasser and can be treated as such, i.e. arrested, removed, and or charged. And here's the funny kicker at the end. Members may also consider banning people from the front counters. In the case of Edmonton, the only place that you can go and do a FOIP request, which must be done in person, is at the Edmonton Downtown Police Services building. So in other words, they would actually have the right, according to this policy, to refuse you your right to FOIP requests. This is the kind of war that the Edmonton Police Service is doing now against the people of Edmonton. Now, obviously, you guys all know, as we've gone over this over the past year and a half, since I started the show, and if you go to some of the other fine Canadian auditors, we've had these panels many times, and we've gone over the law with a fine-tooth comb. We've gone into case files, specific case files. And although there was an important ruling in 2019 regarding the fact that being in public in a place where you don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy is not a catch-all, there could be certain situations where you're in public and don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy where still a person couldn't record you. But that would be a very specific criminal case. It's not related to the Constitution. For example, in the case from 2019, a teacher was photographing a student. She didn't even know he was doing it. He said originally it was just for general information, but in fact it turns out later that he was photographing her breasts and her cleavage for sexual purposes. And so eventually he was charged with that, brought it to the Supreme Court of Canada, and that stuck. And the Supreme Court ruled that there cannot be a situation where just simply because you're in public and have no reasonable expectation of privacy, that there's no scenario where a person could arrest you. So I'm sure that's what their legal team, their crack legal team, who by the way are all current or former police officers, funny enough, just like the review board, just like the guy who reviewed this complaint, just like the people from LURB, all their professional standards departments, all current and former police officers. Police policing the police. Police appealing the policing of the police, okay, like handling the appeals, okay? So we have a major problem going on in this province. Now, there's something that you guys can do right now, and that's why I wanted to do this video today. I'm going to switch over here for a quick second. I'm going to show you guys this. This is a Facebook site. It's called Justice for Steven Nguyen, and I'm going to level with you. I don't know who's running it, but allegedly it's a friend of the family. This person has continued to post information since the passing away. You guys might recall my previous video I did on the shooting death of Steven Nguyen. He was murdered in cold blood by the Edmonton police. No information was given to his family, and left his, I believe, 2-year-old or 1-year-old daughter an orphan. But later, the police actually, or the family actually, brought a lawsuit against the police. And much as the police did in the case of my complaint, they painted Steven Nguyen as an aggressor and blamed him and said that it was all his fault. He should have just complied with the police officers and none of this would have happened. It's now come to light that they were allegedly stopping him under this guise that they thought he might have a knife on him. But he did not have a knife on him, and he had never produced a knife. He was a completely innocent guy. He was possibly experiencing some mental health issues, and he was out allegedly picking bottles and cans, literally just a few houses away from where he lived. And when the police showed up, they pulled out their guns, threatened him, and pointed a loaded hand pistol at him, at which point in time he hid behind a tree out of fear, pulled out his camera, and I believe he began to videotape the police officer who had shown up, panicky, hysterical lunatic police officer, pointing a gun at this completely innocent man. And when he saw the guy pull out a camera, he decided to murder Steven Nguyen, or Nguyen, I'm probably mispronouncing his name, but actually murdered him with several shots from his service pistol right across the street from an elementary school. And still to this day, there's been no justice and no charges against those officers for the murder of Steven Nguyen. So this is a site, and I found this site, and in particular, and I'll put this link underneath somewheres in either in the comments or in my, the write-up for the video. But this is this guy posted this link. I want you guys to check it out. This would mean a lot to me. Let's get in there and let's fight back, because the Edmonton police have declared war on public photography. We are not going to give our rights up. We are not committing a crime. I was threatened that I could be arrested. I was told that I could be arrested for mischief. I was even threatened in the same report I just showed you guys a couple of seconds ago. I was threatened that I could be considered to be, quote unquote, causing a disturbance by taking pictures of people when it might make them uncomfortable. And now we've already gone over these laws in excruciating detail. And we know for a fact that those are absolutely not scenarios. Those are just typical carte blanche laws that the police don't even know the meaning of anymore, because they simply use them in any situation where you don't follow their illegal directives as a means to arrest you. And don't worry, their buddies in blue will bail them out later. So these are the kinds of things that could happen to you anywheres. Remember this. This is the Alberta Trespass to Premises Act. It's a civil remedy law created by the province of Alberta in 2019, ostensibly to prevent pipeline protesters from returning to an area where they had previously been arrested and removed, so that if they were to go back a second time, even though they hadn't done anything wrong, they could immediately be arrested and removed under this unconstitutional trespass to properties law. However, the Edmonton Police Service are using this law as a carte blanche to de facto bypass Alberta's anti-carding laws, the same anti-carding laws that Edmonton Police Chief Dale McFee so adamantly stood with Casey Madju, who was the Justice Minister at the time, and stood very prominently with him and said, I strongly support this, putting an end to the Alberta carding laws. But according to the Alberta Trespass to Premises Act, the very second you step outside of your house and out on a public property, you are committing a crime. Being in public is an arrestable offense, according to the Edmonton Police Service. We all know that that is not the case. They have declared war on public photography to cover their own butts. So if you would like to do something about this, here's where you can come to action. There's an event through eventbrite.ca, and I'm just circling right down here, if you guys can see that. Can you guys see that? At any rate, eventbrite.ca, Commitment to Action 2022 April Listening Session. And I'm going to pull it up right here. This is it right here. And it says, an opportunity to share your stories, experiences, ideas, and feedback with EPS Police Chief Dale McFee. This guy doesn't even have an email. This guy does not have a phone number. This guy is the coward of cowards. He spends his whole life in hiding. So this is a great opportunity to force him to sit in that chair and squirm while you tell him your opinions about telling people they are not allowed to record in a public area. Do you know that in that complaint that they threw out of mine, do you know one of the reasons why they justified making this policy to stop people from taking photos in the public police lobbies? They claimed that one of the scenarios where a person was publicly photographing in a police lobby, probably me, they said in one of the cases, a registered sex offender was doing his check-in, his mandatory check-in, and they were concerned that his privacy might be breached. A registered sex offender. So if you take photos of the police, you can be battered, you can be assaulted and battered, you can be arrested, you can be thrown in a dog cage, you can be choked by your neck gaiter until you utter the words, I can't breathe, just like I was on April 5th, 2021, Easter Monday, outside of the Commonwealth Community Recreation Center. You can be assaulted, you can be beaten up, you can even be murdered, like Steven Nguyen. But if you're a registered sex offender inside of a police office lobby, then very suddenly they're very interested in protecting that individual's rights. So you can see how backwards the police are and how paper thin their premises are. It's pathetic is what it is. Now, this is a fairly brand new thing. I don't think it's been tested. I've only been to a couple of lobbies since like June or July of last year. There were no signs at that point in time. Okay. And I had no problems. I've never had a problem again since that day that I was assaulted by Hankowich. But be aware that they're using this and that they intend to arrest you for taking public photography. And it will only get worse. Inch by inch, they will go further and further. So come out to this event. Let them know what you think about that. It's April 5th. It's called the Commitment to Action 2022 April Listening Session, put on by the Edmonton Police Service. And it's an opportunity to share your experiences with Dale McFee. It's from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time in Edmonton. So if you're from a different area, you might want to check in on that. It says, why engage? As we seek to build, repair, and strengthen relationships, we want to ensure we create the space to hear directly from community on their experiences with policing and ideas moving forward. While we will be attending the community-led session as invited, we will also be hosting sessions throughout the city. Please join Chief Dale McFee and us at our session. Engage online. Whether you have 3 minutes or 3 hours, we welcome you to provide input in ways that you can. Find other ways to engage or join the conversation online at www.commitmenttaaction. Now, I've already tried to post my story here. It's run by the Edmonton Police. They will simply remove it if it's not flattering to them. But by all means, feel free to spam them anyways. And if nothing else, it will make it very difficult for them if they're forced to answer questions on that. It says, who can attend? Commitment to Action sessions are open to all Edmontonians, especially those who have experienced marginalization or those whose voices are often left behind. To ensure all voices are heard, we limit attendees to no more than 2 Commitment to Action sessions. So again, this is a way that you can leave some feedback on the site. They will erase it if it's not flattering to you. I can tell you from personal experience. They've already done that to me, but that's a way that you can engage there, and you can join this listening session, and assumedly or hopefully there will be some opportunity to engage or at least to network with other people in the community. And let's start fighting back. Let's push back on the Edmonton Police. Let's let them know that our constitutional rights, our Charter 2B right to freedom of the press and freedom of expression are not open to debate. It is a pillar, a building block of a free and democratic society, that people be allowed to express themselves and seek out the truth as they see it, right? That is an inalienable right. And don't forget that we would not know about George Floyd, and we would not have had all of these police reforms and all of this progress we've had over the last couple of years had it not been for public photography. That's what they're trying to stop, because they see the money coming out of their budget, coming out of their pockets. And that's what they want to stop. That's why they don't want you taking pictures. They don't want to be held accountable in a court of law. They don't want their officers facing disciplinary actions. Oh, they'll fire or permanently suspend Elena Golasheva for showing support for the truckers' protest. But that's because it's a scenario where they did something that irritated the police. Even Ryan Hankowicz, who assaulted me, has multiple insubordination charges against him. But that's because he lied about being on disability so that he could basically go on a paid vacation. They found out later that he had been to Vegas, and he lied about it. So they charged him with that for lying to the police. That's the only time they want to do anything to the police officers, is when you actually tick them off. But if you commit crimes against the public, of which a large number of police brutality cases in Edmonton over the past number of years have been either racially motivated or had a racial aspect to them, Aboriginals and minorities, all right? There have been a large number of extreme police brutality cases, and we got to start getting that out into the public and making that a thing in people's awareness in the city of Edmonton, and fight back and not let them think that this is okay. Think that we'll make some sort of a concession and then worry later about how we're gonna handle this. And just sort of take whatever little breadcrumbs they happen to give us. Maybe we could just get their permission and then it would be okay. You know what I mean? And we'll just maybe be a little nicer to them or something like that. We don't have to obey any directives from the police. We don't have to obey any of their policies. It has nothing to do with the law. They're not policy officers. They're police officers. So let's get out there. Let's join this event. Let's get on their case. Let's do everything we can to make our voices heard. And if you would be so kind, it would be really cool if you guys would check out this site, Justin for Steven Nguyen. I've reached out a couple of times to this site. Like I said, it doesn't appear to be an actual family member, but a friend of the family's. And I've reached out a couple of times. I don't want to go into a lot of details because there's nothing set up yet, but I have reached out to see if it would be possible to arrange an interview if that's something you guys would be interested in. So one of the Steven's family members could actually come on and share maybe some stuff that was not printed in the newspapers, that maybe you never knew those details before. All right. And maybe, if we can just keep that story in the news, this is a real important one, because this guy had a family that loved him. This man was of Vietnamese origins. Okay. He had a large extended group of friends and families who loved him very much. They're fighting hard. They're taking the police to court. We got to get on this bandwagon. Let's join forces together and push back and let the EPS know that we will not accept any restraints to public photography, that we can photograph any of our interactions with the police anywhere in public that we want, and any place that we can observe with our eyes that is a publicly accessible area, we are absolutely allowed to videotape in that place, with the exception that it's a scenario that has some sort of a criminal element. For example, sexual purposes. You can't put a camera on your foot and look up girls' skirts. That's just common sense. You can't look at somebody's hoo-ha or dingle-dangle in the restroom, or take photos of them in the change room at the swimming pool. That's common sense. Obviously, you can't go to those places and take pictures, because that's a place where a person has a reasonable expectation of privacy. There's nothing new that's taken place from that 2019 act. It's the same result as previous situations. There are certain scenarios where if you're taking photos for a sexual nature, that can be a breach of a person's privacy. But other than that, you are absolutely entitled to record in a public place anywheres you want in Canada. It cannot be alienated. It is inalienable. That's why they're making it a policy instead of a law. Let's fight back. Let's make the citizens of Edmonton aware of this law. I don't even think LURB knows that the city of Edmonton did this. I could not find it online. Maybe one of you guys will have better success. If you do find it, post a link in the comments underneath. But get on board for this. Meanwhile, I'm going to be going back at some point in time this month. If anybody is interested to come with me, I will be going back to do a revisit of the Commonwealth Community Recreation Center. And once again, to take public photography. I'll probably stick to the outside. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I will 100% be in exactly the same place that I was, filming exactly as I was the last time when I was arrested, and I might get arrested again. Maybe they will beat me up. Maybe they'll put me in jail for a couple of weeks. God only knows what they'll do, but it makes no difference. I'm going to go back there and do that again. If anybody is interested to come down and come down as a unit and film each other to give ourselves a better chance of success, or if anybody knows maybe a good constitutional or activist lawyer or law student, or any kind of a legal advisor like that who might be interested in speaking with us and getting on board for something like that, then please let me know. And feel free to, I should have my email should be in my about section on my channel, so feel free to check that out and send me an email. It's filmcanada@protonmail, FIL 3Ms Canada@protonmail.com. Thanks guys for checking this out. Hope to see you guys at this Commitment to Action event, and we'll talk to you guys next time on Film Canada Press. Peace.